Skip sat down with Dana yesterday to talk about Rousey's comeback. Let's take a listen.
So how big a deal is it that Ronda Rousey is returning?
That's a big deal. I mean, she's a megastar in the sport, and I think that, you know, obviously after her last fight, the world wants to see what's going to happen and if she can come back and win this title.
How do you explain her magnetism?
You know, she's special. She just has that thing, and obviously, you know, my stance on women's fighting in the UFC was smashed by her, and you know, when I did that and let her come in, she took over and took the world by storm.
Can you make a case that she had become the biggest draw in sports? Could you go that far?
Yeah, she's one of them. I mean, if you look at, I mean, if you talk about draws in sports, I mean, what comes to mind is you think of Jordan when he played basketball. You think of the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight was massive. You know, I'm trying to think of just other people that draw. Yeah, I'd put Ronda in that category.
Skip, do you agree with Dana that Rousey is one of the biggest stars in sports?
Thought about it a lot last night. He has a point, or maybe I should make it past tense. He had a point.
Yeah.
Before Ronda got rocked by Holm, both physically and psychologically. And so I'm not so sure now, because a lot of her mystique was literally knocked off her that night, to me, because as we all know, from March 2011 to August of 2015, Ronda Rousey exploded, not just on the world, but on every opponent. 12 straight victories that lasted, it seemed like, about 4 seconds a night. And she had the signature move, the arm bar. We'd never seen anything quite like this. She annihilated opponents like that. And her mystique grew as her movie career took off. Expendables 3, Furious 7. I'm watching all these. It seemed like every weekend I went to a movie, and there she was in the Entourage movie. Wow, there's Ronda again. I could not turn on my television without seeing Ronda in a commercial for Carl's Jr. or Metro PCS or Reebok or Bud Light, EA Sports. She was everywhere. She cut through, she crossed over all lines worldwide. Mystique, because here was a pretty woman with a big personality and huge charisma, great interview, who, if I can use what Dana told me, we didn't see it there, I hope I can say this on TV, as he said, she was badass. And she was, man, badass. And I thought that summed her up the best. Now, can we go all the way to Michael Jordan? No. Jordan-esque? Maybe. Pacquiao-Mayweather? Yes. I'll go there. And let's just put it in the current terms of the guy we were just talking about. Did she at least rival LeBron for international star power? I'm talking about worldwide star power. I say yes, she did. And I'm doing it past tense because now we need to see the comeback. And after all she talked about to Ramona Shelburne just after she got rocked, suicidal thoughts, seemed to have lost all of her confidence and her will. Now can she bounce back against an Amanda Nunes who's really good and really tough in and of herself, has won 4 straight? That'll be no pushover, no bargain. So we're going to see what she's now made of. And I'm not sure about that, but I know what she was made of, and I know what that big screen star power was, and I say it was Jordan-esque.
Well, Skip, I think the thing is that what made her the star was that she was one of one. She was the first female to actually fight in the UFC. And because she was so dominant, we had never seen anything like it before. I mean, as you mentioned, a pretty face that can fight. So now she's getting in there in a brutal contact sport. There's only one way to fight. You fight. It ain't no tap dancing. Ain't no, you know, there's really no rules in this. You
can't really do what Floyd does, which is just duck and dodge and dance for 12 rounds and get away with just playing defense. I don't think you can play defense in this sport.
When you fight in UFC, you're in the hurt business. And we don't like to think about females as being hurt or trying to hurt someone. But that's what she did. And as you mentioned, she was able to cross over. She was so dominant And we thought the gap was so far between her and the next one because she was beating them inside of a minute. And you're like, well, wow. But then that changed when Holly Holm knocked her out. And then the very next fight, Holly Holm got beat. And then the woman that took her title got beat. Now we really have to reassess, well, how dominant actually was Ronda Rousey? Because the lady that beat her got beat the very next fight, and the lady that beat her got beat the very next fight. See, Skip, what's happening with Ronda is that she's trying to do two things. When you do this, you either all in or you all out. If you notice, Denzel Washington doesn't do music, does he? All he does is act. Movies and Broadway. That's it. He's acting. He ain't trying to do he ain't trying to cut no rap album. He ain't trying to do no R&B. He's not trying to do any of that. And if you look at it, think about Will Smith. Once Will Smith started doing movies, his music suffered. You either all in with one, Skip.
I think he just grew out of it, out of the music. Will did. But go ahead.
When you do this, when you come talk about boxing or you do MMA, Skip, you either all in this or you all out. Because you know why? You can't have a bad day. See, if I have an off game, you know, my other receiver or John can play great, defense play great, they can bail me out. If a pitcher throws a bad pitch, hey, the outfielder can make a diving catch and save the day. You have a bad moment in here, and the next thing you know, you're going to the hospital. Okay, and that's what happens.
Okay, but you just described UFC, and what the problem can be with UFC is she got beat, and then the woman who beat her got beat, and she got beat. It happens everywhere. It's too hard to stay afloat in this sport. And they lose constantly because it's hard. It's close.
But that's the thing, Skip, is because what made her different because she was a female and she was dominant. Now that she's not dominant, Skip, I'm anxious to see. She comes back and she loses again.
Oh, then that's the problem.
Because here's the thing with Floyd. Whether you want to see him continue the streak or you want to see somebody beat him. You're watching for two reasons. Well, we didn't think there was a woman alive that could beat her in this division. And not only did she get, it wasn't like it went to distance and they had to go to the scorecards. Skip, she got knocked out.
She got splattered.
She got, I mean, and think about what it did to her psyche. Mm-hmm. A lot of people get beat because, hey, you fight long enough, you do anything long enough, you will get beat. She got beat and thought about taking her own life. Mm-hmm. So her psyche, first of all, you have to have a different mindset. To fight, you got to go to a cold, cold, dark place. And you got to be willing to sit down in that chair, and you got to be willing to stay there for a while. And so that means to go to that cold place, it's a different type of mentality, Skip. It's a totally different mentality. Now, you're at that place. You're unbeatable. You're unbreakable. Now, you get beat, and the unbreakable psyche that you must possess to be an elite fighter is shattered, and you think about, and you have suicidal thoughts. Mm-hmm. So now I'm looking like, okay, she was way up here. Nobody could touch her. She's beating people inside of a minute in the first round. She's doing movie. You named all the movies she was in. So now it's a balancing act. Do I want to get punched in my face and make $2 million? Or do I want to do a movie and have a stunt double jumping over somebody and punching somebody in the face for $2 million? Now, now she's in a dilemma. Two equally perplexing situations. So what do? If me, Skip, if I got a choice, Skip, I can let somebody punch him in my face and make $3 million, or I can go do movies and don't get punched in my face for $3 million. I think I'm gonna take the.
She also became a victim to me of her out of UFC life because she's making too many movies. She's doing too many commercials and doing too much promotion for UFC.
Not enough training, huh?
Not enough training. And frankly, if I may say so, I thought she looked a little out of shape because we had her on my old show before she went to fight Holly Holm. And I thought it'd be over in 4 seconds, and obviously it wasn't. But she talked after the fight, after she lost, about how exhausted she was just from that week of promotion. And I asked Dana White yesterday, do you feel any responsibility for her loss? And he said, yeah, I do, because we pushed her really hard that week because that's what they do. He needs that. The sport needed it. And yet it takes away from your ability ultimately to dominate.
Well, it's going to be interesting, Skip, because once you get beat, you're vulnerable. Now you know, because as long as you're winning, you think you are unbeatable. You think you are unbreakable. Now, I don't care what anybody says. Once you get beat, your psyche is never the same.
I agree.
Because you know it can happen again. And not only, okay, you go to the scorecards, you're like, okay, I thought I won that fight. Skip, she got knocked out. There was no ifs, ands, and buts. There was no, well, if she'd have done, no, there was nothing she could have done. And she did not win like 2 seconds of the fight. She was just totally and thoroughly dominated. So it's going to be interesting to me, how does she respond? Because for the first time, she got dragged out into deep waters. And see, the great fighters, they can drag you out there and they come back to shore. Well, she went to those deep waters and Holly Holm came back to shore.
She did.
So now I'm going to see on December 30th how she handles adversity, because this is the first time she's had adversity in the octagon. That's a different animal, Skip. That's it. You know, most people fight. You don't say, okay, two people fighting in the street. It's like, it happens instantaneous.
I agree.
You building up.
You have to think about it.
You're like, okay, I'm going to fight on December 30th.
That is correct.
I'm going to do you harm.
Yep.
You're thinking about, okay, the person's like, well, I'm trying to do you harm too.
That is correct. And Amanda Nunes can strike. And
Yes.
she will, Ronda will get struck.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing, and because you're like, a woman, a tough woman, we don't think of women as being tough. You know, we got to handle them with kid gloves and delicate, and we
I
should.
don't.
But-
I disagree.
But Ronda was coming in and like punching people. Like, whoa! Did you see her punch that lady in the face and kicked in the face and
Hey.
beat her?
Joy is tough.
I see. She be posting stuff on Snapchat.
She is tough.
She thinks she a little pint-sized lady.
I do
like me.
not want to
no.
get punched.
I-
I don't mind knowing bits. I don't want to get punched. Don't you think that Ronda was in a lose-lose situation, though? Because, like you said, in this sport, everybody loses.
They
McGregor
do.
lost. Nobody thought McGregor was going to lose. You lose eventually. So she was being critiqued for not having the right competition around her. And then when she loses, we're critiquing her for losing.
Well, John Bones don't lose. He got disqualified, but he don't
He's
lose.
got other issues besides
yeah.
losing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
but I'm just, it is.
No,
I mean,
I got
but
it.
see, that's why people, see, the thing is about MMA, about UFC, is that the best fights the best. See, in boxing, Floyd picks and chooses. Well, I don't want to fight that guy. He might beat me, but I can make $5 million fighting him, or I can make $3 million fighting a guy that I can beat. Okay, give me the $3 million fight.
Yeah.
In the UFC,
They don't do it.
If you got the belt, you fighting the #1 contender.
I
You're
admire
not
that.
fighting exactly.